Hey friends, this is the Miss Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, and today I'm making my non-traditional fruitcake. Here's the cake part of the recipe. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a pound of room temperature butter, 5 eggs, 1 cup of liquid honey, a teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon each of cloves, ginger, and allspice, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Let's get over to the fruit and nut table. Here's the fruit and nuts that are going in. Apricots, raisins, dried cranberries, prunes, black currants. Well, Howie was supposed to get slivered almonds, but he got sliced. But that's okay. Sliced almonds, pecans, and ooh, I found some candied ginger. Excuse me. Crystallized ginger. Okay. Now comes to the fruit part. Now I'm doing a half a recipe. So oh no, you're too mushy. These are my dried apricots. I always soak them first, and I only use the really nice firm ones, underripe. So because I don't normally measure when it comes to the fruit and nuts, but I don't want to overdo it because I am only doing a half recipe, so I'm going to use this as my measurement. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot my baggie for the nuts. First things first. We're gonna get these sliced, not slivered, but you know what? I'm pretty sure they'll still do the job. I'm gonna save a few just to decorate the top. I'll be phoning any minute. Now there's a lot of fruit, so we want more nuts. Does that make sense? I'm just doing this. Bust up these pecans so that I can bust it up and like cut it up and give gifts pieces of it, but I'm not doing a lot of fruitcake this year because there's not a lot of people coming, or I'm not going to be interacting with a lot of people. Okay, I may have gone overboard with the nuts. You know me, folks, I rarely measure, but I did measure the batter. Now we're just going to slice up. Always have a good pair of clean kitchen scissors. I'm going to slice up our apricots. Now, we're going to do the same with a few prunes. Don't underestimate the power and deliciousness of prunes. I don't soak them though because they're naturally juicy even when dried. I only put fruit and nuts in my cake that I like. That's why over the years I've developed this recipe. That's enough prunes. Now we're going to do a layer of black currants. These aren't from my bush, but this is what I grow that I make jelly out of. Dried cranberries. I really pack them in here. And raisins. Now, this isn't a hard and fast recipe, folks. This is what I have in my pantry. All right. And if this isn't enough, we'll add more. All righty. Let's start Sam off with creaming our room temperature butter, honey together. Now somebody told me to put a little bit of oil in my jar or cup before measuring the honey, that it would be much easier to get out. I'm going to tell you they're right, but I still have to scrape it. 1 cup of Canadian honey. Now listen folks, This is why we bake this cake at a lower temperature, because honey heats up at a lower temperature. So that's why. New rules for stuff like this. Now while that's doing its business, I'm going to go ahead and sift the flour, the spices, and baking powder to make sure there's no lumps. Don't be amazed if I sneeze. I always sneeze when dealing with all-purpose flour. Now that our butter and honey is creamed, we're going to add in our 5 eggs. And we're going to turn it up a bit. We kind of want to whip this. Never crack your eggs on the side of the bowl. You're just asking for it to get shells in your batter. Now, if you're using Homestead home-raised eggs, these are store-bought large. Homestead large are going to be bigger. You might want to use 4. But more eggs can't hurt, right? And we're just going to add in our flour mixture. And let that stir. My goodness. I could have made a lot more in this mixer, that's for sure. Give that a bit of a whip. And now we're going to do our absolute best to mix all this fruit and nuts in there. Make sure I'm up. Let's get this down here. Remember, folks, the batter just has to hold it together. And then we're going to start with stir. You just want to combine it. You just want the batter to hold everything together. I remember when my mother used to use brown paper from grocery bags, and she would cut them to fit the pan. Then she would butter them, and then she would put them, line the cake pans with that. Now we have parchment. But I'll tell you something, my mother knew how to waste not, want not, that's for sure. And I think that is done. Now the reason we put a bowl of water in the bottom, I don't know if I mentioned it, is to help stop the cake from drying out. This is true fruitcake, folks. And I bet you dollars to donuts, even with the raisins, Howie will eat some of this. His sweet tooth won't be able to get the better of him. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. It's going to be full. Remember, honey, oh, there's our 300 degree oven. Remember, honey heats up faster than sugar. That's why we cook it at a lower temperature. Don't want to waste any of this. Don't want to waste my fruit. Sorry, folks, couldn't resist. Okay. I know, it's loud, eh? This is going into a 300 degree oven for at least 2 hours or until a fork comes out clean. Okay, it's been about 2 hours, so let's check on our cake. Oh. Ooh. Now, I'm looking at this split cake thinking I should have cooked it at 250 like my mother did. I should have cooked it at 250 and longer, but let's check. And that cake is done. So now, while it cools, so I'm just going to take, now this is pure Canadian honey. I won't buy anything else because there's so many, and I'm just going to drizzle honey all over here like this. And I'm going to right down that crack so it gets right down all around. And this will just smooth itself out because the cake is hot. Okay. And to that, we're just going to, yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, traditionally, fruit cakes need time to age. So that's what we're going to do. But I'll tell you, the first slice, Papa has promised to do a taste test. Mrs. V's 2020 non-traditional fruitcake. But it's got to age for at least a month. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead saying, this fruitcake doesn't need all the candied crap, doesn't need the booze. This cake is beautiful all by itself. Take care, God bless.